It's a rather cool day today in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's a great country to live in. I am so delighted that God caused me to be a Bahamian citizen. And I think all of you out there who are Bahamian citizens ought to be very grateful that God has chosen the best spot on the planet to give to the Bahamian people. And we are delighted that we have it, and millions and billions around the world want to occupy this most precious real estate. Even the angels and all are trying to fight over it so they could get a space. And they got to go on other parts of the planet. This space is for Bahamians only. That's why God set the boundaries for all nations. Jamaica for Jamaica, Haiti for Haitians, Cuba for Cubans, Canada for them people in Canada and them people in the United States. They got their own territory. Stay in your boundaries. Stay in the nation where God put you. What are you coming out of there for? Creating confusion. That's what caused all of this trouble. And of course, there's this terminology for peace between the Israelis and also the Hamas group. There appears to be more war brewing up in the Middle East because the Israelis have said that what was offered to them is not enough. And so the possibility exists that the hostages that are held by Hamas may not be going anywhere anytime soon. And unfortunately, some tragedies have occurred. I know the families are hurting very badly. We have to pray for these families who have lost their loved ones, their husbands, their sons, their uncles, their grandfathers, and so on. And let us hope and pray that we can avoid that kind of situation in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because we are a nation of laws. Now we have our share of problems. We just had another person slaughtered this morning in Foxhill. And it is speculated that perhaps there are those who want to have retaliatory killings, or perhaps what they think is they're trying to mete out justice in their own way. And when people do not have faith in the system of justice that we have in our country, we're going to have problems, very serious problems. We have to help our people to overcome, to change, to develop, to improve in character. Now, also I understand that suicide is on the increase. I don't know of any genuine Bahamians who would want to commit suicide. I've been spanning 70 years. On both sides of my family, I can't find any evidence of any genuine Bahamian who wants to commit suicide. So I do know that there are persons who are doing that kind of thing here in our midst. But are they genuinely Bahamian? Do they go to a Christian church? Do they believe in God and the Word of God? Now, people who don't, well, that may be a different kettle of fish altogether. But no patriotic, faithful Bahamian citizen who loves his country would want to commit suicide. So I'm not saying the suicidal problem does not exist. I just find it hard, very difficult to believe, because I've searched 70 years of history in my own family. And I'm still looking. Even the little sows, even the many pigeons we have in the family, all of them want to live. And none of them look suicidal to me. They want a future. They believe in God. They believe in the Word of God. And a person who believes in God and believes in the Word of God will not commit suicide. Suicide is not in the picture for them. Unfortunately, we've been having people who would have attempted suicide, like the lady who drove her children and herself overboard at Montague Beach. I am saddened every time I think about it. I think it was 3 children she had at the time, and herself. There's 4 people. Just went under the water and drowned. God allowed it to happen. Some people say, if God is God, why he didn't stop it? People have choices to make. We have choices to make. We have to change our wicked ways and learn to work together with each other according to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Now, there was a gentleman that called yesterday, and I hope I was not too hard on him, because he was talking about another particular personality who is a political leader of a political party, and he was confused by statements being made, persons like myself and other individuals, including this particular political personality, and the statements are contradictory. So he is in confusion, and I think some of you out there in confusion. I heard a replay of a show on another radio station last night. And this particular political personality said that his statements were taken out of context regarding the renunciation of citizenship by the Haitian people. The thing is, Bahamians, is what our Constitution says, not what them other fellas say, you know. Because you're going to find, when you look at the evidence, and that's why evidence is so important. These people who are trying to be naturalized. There is no provision in our Constitution, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas Constitution. I ain't talking about them other people's Constitution. There is no provision in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for naturalization of anybody. That stopped in July of 1974, and that was set aside specifically for personalities of the United Kingdom and colonies that had some relationship in the Bahama Islands at that particular time. And they had to apply and deal with it by July of 1974. This is May the 7th, 2024, so it does not apply today. But you have a whole army of people talking about they want to be naturalized. That is fraud. There is no provision in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for naturalization of anyone. It just isn't there. Any of you who think it's there, you call the show and show me which article it is. And I'm sorry if I have been a little too hard on the particular individual. I do apologize for that, because he was confused, and I'm going to try to clear that up. I said I would deal with that right at the top of the show today. I expect a guest to come in. He's not here yet, so I'll continue until he comes in. The point is that we have to be serious about citizenship in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We cannot allow people to take the country from us, Bahamians, because you have people who are out to steal, to destroy what God has given to the Bahamian people. The question is, are we prepared to stand up and fight for it? Even as our mothers and fathers did, who were ahead of us. My mother and father were in the fight, you know. My grandparents before them were in the fight. And their parents before them were in the fight. You have a whole line of personalities who were involved in bringing the country where it is today. Now we are losing over the last 50 years and 9 months. Soon it'll be 50 years and 10 months. The 10th of this month would make 50 years and 10 months. And we have lost some things where the government of the Bahamas has been allowing some things to happen, and we as citizens of this country have done nothing about it in 50 years and 10 months. And I always ask people, what are you prepared to do about it? Because there are things you can do. Article 24.1 is only one. There are other articles in the Constitution that empowers you to do something when a government steps out of line, when a representative of the people steps out of line. You're not hopeless. There is hope for you. but are you prepared to take the decisive action that is essential to make things happen? And I will be trying as best as I can, as the lady said yesterday, to make this simple and basic and fundamental. I will do that today and every other day I have to speak on these matters relating to the Constitution, particularly citizenship, particularly the way the government of the Bahamas ought to function. And we're going to go through every single article in the Constitution that speaks to governance and citizenship, and how we ought to behave, the kind of qualities a person ought to have to be in the government of the Bahamas and to be in the Parliament of the Bahamas. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson.
Well, you got it right.
This is Patriot number 7.
Patriot number 7. Okay, all right.
Listen, you are right on point. You open up your show to today, right on cue.
Yes, sir.
The Bahamian people are sitting down on do nothing seat and allowing the country to just be frittered away by the status quo politicians in this country and the oligarchs.
Yes.
Do the Bahamian people realize, Professor, that Patelco is gone? Do the Bahamian people realize that Waterways is gone? Do the Bahamian people realize that Prince George and Awaki docks are gone? Do the Bahamian people realize that the airport is run by Canadian foreigners? Do the Bahamian people realize that BPL is practically just about gone? The last thing that the Bahamian people own is just about gone. And one more thing. Do the Bahamian people realize how gone this country is, that to get a matter in the Supreme Court, that matter has to be given clarification and direction from Trinidad and Tobago?
That's an interesting point that you brought up. You're going to have to look at that a little bit more closely.
Thank you very much. The Bahamian people we got to do better. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you. Caller, the caller made some very valid points, Bahamians, and this is why I keep saying to you, Article 24.1, you heard him talk about decisions being made in Trinidad and Tobago. That's relatively new to me. I have to investigate a little bit further. Then you got this big flare-up between the government of the Bahamas and the Grand Bahama Port Authority over the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. And I've said a number of times on this show, I have never heard one single word about the supreme law of the Commonwealth of Bahamas in relation to this big fight between the government of the Bahamas and the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Not a single word, even up to today. Now, what I will be doing on this show, and I have my people working on it, we're going to examine the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. We're going to see whether it is constitutionally sound, yes or no. We're going to see clearly what the responsibilities of the government of the Bahamas ought to be in relation to the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. And we're going to see clearly what the responsibilities of the Grand Bahama Port Authority ought to be in relation to that agreement. Now, I understand that there are 4 particular personalities who have been appointed to the arbitration board or committee to deal with this particular issue. It is a very serious issue. And it has flared up to the point where the Prime Minister had a speech of some sorts last night. I heard a good portion of it. And we're going to examine every single thing that he said in that speech he gave to the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce. Plus, he also gave, in another speech, some very specifics that the government has a problem with the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and also the Grand Bahama Port Authority had given a statement about some specifics that they have with the government of the Bahamas. See, all of this information you have to examine very closely in light of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because ain't nobody checking for the Constitution. Why is that, Bahamians? But you have this big flare-up. People have a right to their views and their opinions. Just like yesterday, and now there's this big flare-up over immigration issues, citizenship issues, because of the fact that there has been misinformation giving out to the public. And when you do that, Bahamians, you do a lot of harm to your country. That is why on this show, even talking about the F&M conventions, we're going to get the facts, Bahamians. When I say anything about Mr. Michael Pintard or Mr. Minnis, Dr. Minnis, I should say, Dr. Hubert Minnis, or any other personality, Dr. Dwayne Sands, who is running for the office of chairman. Now, I still hear people talking about Michael Pintard being the leader of the Free National Movement. If I understand them correctly, they told me all seats are vacant. Now, if it is vacant, that means you can't be the leader in the seat that is vacant, eh? My understanding is, and there's anyone out there who know it better than me could correct me, I understand two nominees are for the position of leadership. No decision has been made on the nominees who want to be leader of the Free National Movement. So the seat is vacant. Why can't we get things straight? You can't relinquish it, sign the papers, and still people come around and say the man is leader. What kind of crap is that? The understanding, as I understand it, and if anyone thinks that the professor has it wrong, just call in and say so. I'm prepared to be corrected. I understand the two nominees for the position of leader of the Free National Movement. You can't be a nominee and at the same time be leader of the party. Just doesn't work that way. Unless there's something that they haven't told me. I am going to say here right now, members of the media have too much misinformation on national issues and political issues in this country, and that creates confusion. Just like you have political personalities of a particular political party who has said that they are going to change the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas if they were to become the government of the Bahamas. And some other things they agree to do if they become the government of the Bahamas. Not every single person, let me just stress this because some people don't seem to understand. Let me just say this in simple, basic, fundamental language. Not every single person in this country is going to be affiliated with that particular political party or with that particular political leader. No, sir. Especially if you have a checkered past. That's why I tell people all the time, check the record. And see what has happened in the past. Because there are those who are troublemakers trying to confuse the Bahamian people. Let me just say this. You must become constitutionally sound if you're going to save this country. We are in deep, deep trouble, Bahamians. Some of you don't seem to understand how serious this is. You heard what the first caller said. He's right on target. Now, I didn't know about the one about the Trinidad and Tobago. I got to look at that a little bit, but I'm happy that he said it. It perked my ears right up. Even decisions for the Bahamian people are made outside the country. What kind of nonsense is that? Did we vote for them people in Trinidad and Tobago? What kind of country are we running, Bahamians? We're being pushed further and further and further and further away from what is rightfully ours because we're not prepared to stand up and fight in accordance with our Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. Anything contrary to that is null and void. Do we believe that? Do we understand how important that is? Or are we going to allow some political personalities who are disordered and not able to think straight to put us in deeper and deeper trouble? Because remember, I can tell you right now, they can't get us out of this. It takes the mercy of God to pull us out of this. But God has to have some people he could work with. Can God count on you? Can he work through you? Because the scriptures tell me men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. And we got some people around here full of darkness. They don't want no light. They like working in the dark. And they will pull you down in the deepest of darkness so you can't see. Now, say a fellow like me, I can stay in the light. That's why I can live in a glass house. And the glass will be crystal clear. So you could see where Professor is at 3 a.m. in the morning. So you ain't got to speculate anymore. What you speculating for? And you could see for yourself. Huh? But there are those who want to snoop around in the dark and say, well, it ain't me, it's them other fella. If you elect people who live in the darkness, you're going to have a bad system in place. Because those very same people who live in the dark are going to bring their evil deeds into the governing structure of your country. That is why you need people who are of the light. Jesus said, let your light so shine, not your darkness. You got to get rid of darkness. And I have to keep working on myself all the time. I don't want one strand of darkness in my life, not even a strand. That requires work, Bahamians. And that's why I'm saying to you about independence, our 51st anniversary of independence. I want to encourage you on the ground, in your constituency where you live, in your community, to be organized to celebrate our Independence Day, 51st, July the 10th. Well, not on that particular date, of course, because, you know, they have the national celebration, so we don't want to interfere with that. But either before that or after that, we could still have it. Because we need to get our people to understand the importance of independence. Payments, that's our birthday. That's a tremendous movement for the Bahamian people. I'm going to be celebrating it, and I want you to do the same thing. But you got to be organized. That's what's important, Bahamians. And we have to move quickly. See, too many of you, like the first caller said, we're just sitting down, Bahamians. You don't tell me 50 years you didn't know. I said, okay, fine. But 9 months has gone by now, going on to 10 months. So when you're going to start moving, when you're going to start getting yourselves together on the ground, in your community where you live. When you're going to start to communicate with the person right next door to you. You ain't got to go far, you know. Right on the same street where you live. You have to be constitutionally, and you ain't sure how to do it. Just call Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. He'll help you and straighten that out for you very quickly. Because I know how to do it. But if you keep in the dark, that means you're part of the darkness. But you got to come out in the light. So everybody could see what you're doing. At 2 a.m. in the morning, they say, "You see him? I know who that fella is." You ain't supposed to be groping around in the dark. Men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. Avoid sending people to the house of assembly who are dark, who have darkness in their lives. That's one point I want the electorate to understand because it is not working in our best interests. I can show you some other things in the Constitution where people ought to line up their lives according to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and according to the Holy Scriptures, because we come under the supremacy of God. Where is God in our national life? Where is God in our family life? Where is God in our community life? Where is God in our constituency life? Where? I think we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on it. Don't mind me. I'll talk till Christ come back. Go ahead, caller.
Brother Thompson.
You let someone beat you today.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But you still early, no problem.
Psalms 9 and 11 tell you when a nation overwhelmed that more evil than good. You know what they're doing? They are pushing God out of their country.
Yes.
They are pushing God out. This is what they were doing back then. And we can look around the world. We can even look at the country maybe next to us, that they take on the other part of doing other things. They reject God.
Yes.
And we can see the Bahamas, we are doing the same thing. We are rather chosen the darkness more than the light. We have chosen now, we know people who are in darkness, but we still select them because why? That's my uncle, that's my sister husband, that's my cousin, but we know them. That's why the Bible says, know them that labor among you.
Yes.
So we deserve just what we are getting. Because if we choose people with integrity to put in that house of assembly, to fight for this country, we will see a better plan. And that is the reason why I believe you have a purpose and a plan that God has for you. See, purpose and plan don't change, Only generation change. But the purpose always will stand. That's why you don't know the reason why you are there. You are there for a purpose. And you cannot let them pull you in or give you one big contract and say, why are you making this on this
On this
radio?
radio station, eh?
Come by my office 9 o'clock tomorrow. And when you look, you singing a different
Different
tune.
tune, okay. All right.
And this is the reason why we find out this country is going this way and the next way, and we just sitting right down and just complaining, and ain't doing nothing.
Yes, sir.
You see?
Mhm.
But until we rise up and fight for what God has blessed us with and what He has given to us, if God is not coming down from heaven, can solve no problem for us. He say, I have given you dominion and power over the earth.
Yes.
That you, what you doing and what you gonna do about it. You see? So I heard, I'm leaving right now. I heard Morris in Freeport say he given he want Michael Pentard. Say
Yes.
Dr. Minnis had a chance.
Yeah, he said that, yeah.
So these men, then what they do, they have you like a figurine. They'll put you on this table tomorrow. And if they don't look good on that, they take you, put you on another table.
Yes.
So it looked to me like they choosing these people who they see fit. All of what Dr. Minnis had in his cabinet look like they are now falling behind Pentard. So guess
Yes.
they must be say, we ain't want you no more. We Brent Simmons and all them. We know who these people is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Now, in relation to Professor Thompson being bribed, I've already told you what the answer to that is. I need you to support the show. You supported very heavily with sponsorship, and the door is closed. You don't have to worry about that. I want to work for the people. I waited 50 years, because the people told me they didn't know. And I said, okay, well then 50 years and 9 months. Come on, Bahamians. We can't keep stalling and stalling and stalling and stalling and stalling. We've got to get into action now. Independence is around the corner. We got to plan these independence celebrations. We have to get cracking right away. And we got to do it simultaneously in the various communities and the constituencies. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
On 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM, and you ought to express yourself, but also after expressing yourself, you need to take the appropriate action that is essential to bring change. We have not been doing that, Bahamians. 50 years has already passed, 9 months has already passed, and 10 months will soon be here. Just a couple of days, 50 years and 10 months. Now, you did tell me you didn't know. But Bahamians, how much longer are we going to wait? Every single day that you sit back and do nothing, we lose time. We lose very valuable time. All kinds of things are happening in this country. They're going to shake the very foundations of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in a way you have never seen before. And all we're going to do is sit back. We're waiting for the Gaza Strip to happen here. We're waiting for the things like what's happening in Haiti to happen here. We're waiting for things like what's happening in Sudan to happen here. Come on, Bahamians, let's wake up, man. I can speak more to that. I think we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there?
Professor Thompson?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
First-time caller here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, don't let it be the last now.
No, it will never be the last time. Professor, have you watched the relays this weekend?
No, weekend? I didn't get to see the relays. No.
Okay, because the reason why I asked, because there was a team that had Haitian Bahamian.
Yes.
And I need to find exactly what it was all about.
That's a good point.
I don't know exactly what it was all about, so I perhaps maybe need someone who can perhaps call in and explain to me exactly what it was all about, because I heard the deputy prime minister was apologizing, and some of the hosts for, I think, ZNS, I think myself, apologized and all of that. But I
Apologize
wonder
for what?
exactly. Yeah, I think apologize for some mixed up, and they're having a team for Haitian Bahamian to represent.
There's no such country.
Yeah, I represent the Bahamas, I guess.
No, it
Because
can't
they're
represent Bahamas. You
Haitian
can't know
Bahamian.
Haiti,
I don't know, but
Bahamas.
somehow, I don't know whether it was scrapped or what, but somehow that the jacket, because I was able to see the uniform but they were wearing Haitian Bahamian.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I was kind of concerned about that because
No, you
I'd
should
like
be.
to know, I'd like to know who really, who made that call to have
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of embarrassing to me and to a lot of people who I know.
Yeah, that's a
You know?
good point. Well, I'll tell
So-
you what.
so-
What we're going to do on this show, we're going to investigate the facts. Now, if someone has information on it, they can call in, but I'm not going to be satisfied just what they say.
Exactly.
That's not the way I do business. Now, I'll hear them out. I ain't got no problem with that. Since you brought it up, it's a good point. I heard it brought up before. I heard on another talk show, or radio show, I should say. The particular host of that particular show just wanted to just push it aside as if it's nothing, which is very foolish of that particular personality. We have been allowing too many things, and Carl, I'm going to let you stay on. We have been allowing too many things to occur in this country, which we have taken for granted. And we're being swallowed up by strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders. We are on the verge of losing our country. That's how serious it is. And you can talk about apology? Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I think that is something we have to investigate.
No, we can investigate that.
Who made that call? Somebody
Yes.
made that call, and I'm thinking, I believe it has to be a Bahamian who made that call. But we got to fix that. And
No, it needs to be fixed.
second point I want to make here is that all citizenship given to Haitian, in my opinion, based on the Constitution, are null and void, because Haiti is a French colony.
That's correct.
Now, I could understand if it was a country like Barbados, Jamaica, because they are British colonies.
Even Barbados could not qualify.
Barbados cannot qualify.
No,
Okay,
sir.
I wasn't aware of that.
Trinidad could not qualify
Okay.
because they were
Okay.
not British colonies at the time we got our independence. They were independent nations. That's the
Okay.
mistake that the Bahamas government has made with these former colonies. The Constitution never said former colonies. It says the United Kingdom and colonies. And at that particular time of 1973, Barbados was an independent nation, and so was Trinidad and Tobago. So none of them could have qualified. Not a living
Okay.
one.
Okay, so that means they should not be allowed to vote. These people that have the citizenship paper should not be allowed to vote because it's not a British colony. So I
Yes,
don't know
you're
what we're gonna
correct.
do about
You're correct on
but
that.
we got to fix that somewhere along the line because, I think for political reasons, these people were given citizenship. All parties, because I know they have the PLP, the FNM, whatever, they all perhaps maybe done the same thing. I won't know.
No.
But-
Let me enlighten you. Because see, we ain't gonna speculate on this. We got hardcore evidence. So we ain't gotta speculate on nothing. The point is the government of the Bahamas has been wrong for 50 years and 9 months. Let's get that out there. Number two, they have what is called the so-called Bahamas Nationality Act, which is a fraudulent act, which is not legal. It is not lawful, but it has been used for the last 50 years and 9 months. It has
Okay.
damaged the reputation of this country. And they're now giving out what they call naturalization certification, which is contrary to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That ended in July of 1974. So we ain't got to have no deep secret about anything. What they are doing today is absolutely unconstitutional. And we ought to tell them that they are dead wrong because the man said his minister did nothing wrong. And the minister was dead wrong and still is wrong today.
Exactly. Professor, we need to deal with this because
That's
we have
why.
an election. We have an election coming up next year sometime.
Let-
And I'm sure a lot of these people would be going to the polls to vote. And they should not be allowed to vote in the election because they are not really Bahamian citizens.
They never were Bahamian citizens.
Okay, so that's something we have to be very mindful of. We have to be, we have to make sure that, I don't know who's going to happen, who's going to help us to deal with this, because, we've been talking a lot about things, but there is no action. We need to action some of these points, because, it's getting burdensome right now. The country's just going away, just getting away from us.
I think you need to call me every day, because you're making a lot of sense.
One more point I want to make, and I'll go.
Yeah, okay.
I was told in Freeport, the Haitian having a Flag Day. That's another no-no.
Yes.
Why would you want to come in another country to have your Flag Day when you can have a Flag Day back home?
That's correct.
I think we need to deal with that. We shouldn't have Haitian having a Flag Day in the Bahamas.
Yes, sir.
I don't know who made the call on that. We need to start calling names. These people doing these things, and we don't know who in the world making these calls.
No, we know who they are. The names of the particular personalities is clearly evident. That's no top secret. The evidence is right in front of you, 50 years and 9 months. How much more evidence do you want?
Something needs to be done.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that part.
Yeah.
The evidence is overwhelming.
That's right.
Okay.
Professor, one more point, and I'm gone. Professor, I'm not a PLP. I'm not an FNM. I'm a Bahamian. That's the way how I look at life. I look at life in this country. If the government is doing what it's supposed to do, I will support them. Let's put it this way. If the PLP government is doing what it's supposed to do, in my opinion, I will support them. If the FNM is doing what it's supposed to do, then I will support them, because I have supported the FNM, I've supported the PLP, supported the DNA, because I'm looking for good governance. But I don't consider myself being a person who wears colors.
Okay.
I'm not aligned to any particular party.
Okay.
I am a Bahamian. And if you're doing well, if the country, the economy is strong, people can find jobs, and everything is going well, whoever gets us in that position, I will support them. That's the way how I think as a Bahamian.
Carla, I don't have a problem with your way of thinking, but the thing is that I believe people get mixed up. They label the government a PLP government. They label the government an FNM government. There's no such thing in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. What you do have are political parties. The Constitution allows for political parties. The political party is totally different from the government of the Bahamas. You can have your little political party, but you don't have to have the government of the Bahamas. I got to explain this very clearly because so many people just don't understand that one basic point. That's why we all mixed up for 50 years and 9 months, because we don't understand the difference between party representation and parliamentary representation. My God, I got to explain that again today. It is not resonating with the Bahamian people because they are misled and deceived by those particular personalities who they gave the authority to run this place right underground as we are right now on May 7, 2024. We know who the individuals are. There's no deep secret. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is, what are we prepared to do about those who were entrusted with the authority to run this place and run it straight under the ground? That's what we have to deal with. That's where Article 24.1 comes in. And we have done nothing about it because the people told me, Professor, we didn't know that. But now you know. So why are you wasting time instead of getting down? Because we have already lost 50 years and 10 months. Come on, Bahamians. And the country is sliding. You heard what the caller just said? How much more of this nonsense are we prepared to take? Bahamians got to wake up. Caller, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Professor, I admire you. I admire the tenacity that you have. And I'm going to pray and hope that you continue to go on, because I know this country, what happens when people speak out against certain things in this country, all of a sudden here they've been removed, or they fired, or this and that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear that. You're doing the right thing, and you need more people like you to do what you're doing right now. So keep up the good work, and I will support you. And as a matter of fact, I will talk to you off air so I can perhaps make a donation to this movement to make sure that.
Mr. Producer, make sure I get it. I'm calling to stay on the line. Mr. Producer, please get that gentleman's name and number now. Don't miss that. You heard what the man said? That's why I am saying to people out there, we need the kind of support that is essential to move forward. While I appreciate people say they love the show and all of that, that's fine. That's all well and good. But behemoths, we got some serious work to do. And it takes funding, it takes work, it takes hard effort, it takes organizing on the ground. I waited 50 years. I can't wait for another 50. Give Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson the opportunity to do something. You give it to them other fellas. And they squandered billions of our dollars. And what happened? Zero at the end of the day. Big fat zero. How much more of that crap are we prepared to take? Let's wake up Bahamians. Please, let's do that, man. I get very frustrated. People ask me, Professor, what are we supposed to do? I am going to make it constitutionally clear from the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas how you can choose the right person. You have what I just said, Bahamians? The right person to send to the House of Assembly. Because you've been picking needles without eyes. That's why the clothes can't get so. Bahamians, we got to do better than this. And I'm happy that caller called. Mr. Brewster, please make sure I get that information with that caller. We can need 150,000 like him. Then we could really turn this place right side up. That means we got to stop playing games, man. We got another caller. See this when I get carried away. Caller, you live on here. Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Yes.
Caller, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
to one and all listening.
Yes, ma'am.
Bernice Johnson, the original, I must give thanks to the Almighty God through Jesus Christ of Nazareth and the Holy Spirit envelop us.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, all of our action shall start because we need to get the financial freedom plan once again active and do it before Her Excellency for life, Dame Marguerite Pinling's birthday. That's June 23rd, I think. I stand corrected.
June 23rd.
Now, why I'm saying that, because you always call personalities the night of the long nights. Please review that, because you called a show yesterday, the Howard Grant Show.
Yes, I did.
All of this stuff that has intensified started from the night of the long nights, from my mortal boss, former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram, who was made chairman on July 19th, 1977. I remember July 19th because that's the Orville Turnquest's birthday. Now, we have to come together. I don't care who, what, and why. I have nothing to say as I don't get in the F&M. I am not registered and financial. I still waiting for a ride to go vote for Travis Robinson the last time. Now, on Mr. Jones' show, I know you listened to Mo's show today. He spoke about the broken window. Now, that was part of the partnership of the MAIIDCC report. That was the theory. Now, Mr. Christie now is a part of the PLP, and respecting Mr. Ingram's membership with the FNM, I will stand in his place. And what has to happen now is that this present Prime Minister, Philip Edward Brave Davis, who has been ushered in for the time such as now, and their stalwart consulars, must cause Mr. Christie and some of those who are PLPs to access some of this information. Because what you are sharing in some ways, because of misinformation, is confabulation, not with the Constitution, okay? Because you have people giving you certain information, and it's not credible with date, time, and place. And we in the Bahamas, our people shall have access to the financial credibility and the quality of life that they are to. Our people who have mortgaged their homes and sent children off on scholarships, they will be reinstated in their homes like yesterday. That is why I'm calling on Mr. Christie so that we can get this started. To see, I am a woman of action. And I have been in the vineyard 43, going on 44 years, October 20th. And I told the late Obadiah Wishcombe before he died, if they claim Mr. Ingram had murdered somebody, it will be null and void because he has a look-alike. And we have all that. And now the artificial intelligence that has now just been actualized with voice imitation and imaging of photoshopping. All of this was not known to people. Some of our police officers, our senior police officers, were not known.
Yes,
and my
ma'am.
story started in the Guardian with the late, I think is,
Okay.
Ken Francis. Now,
Berenice,
I only want to assure our people, because there are some a public figure who castigated 2 prime ministers, and that's what caused the social disrespect in this nation
yes,
from
ma'am.
from former Prime Minister Minnis. Now,
Yes,
all
ma'am.
our nation leaders has to come together, our white Bahamians from the Stafford Sands on, and access the monies. And we need to start that like yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Well,
So
thank
all
you.
those first women, and you talk about the Haitian flag stuff, nobody else need to answer that. Not the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture. Get Danny Dumfrey Johnson on the on your show, along with Gladys Johnson Sands. Okay, we have steel crushing evidence where they used to vacation in Petionville, and also former Minister of Foreign Affairs with the 1994 Fire Accord, former Minister Janet Boswick. I will stand in the gap on behalf of her because of my lawyer, John Henry Boswick Sr. That's where all this complication coming with the national insurance money. There was digital terrorism going on, and we shall have access to it because the file is down there.
Well,
And
thank
to
you.
CDU. Thank you. God
Thank
bless
you very much. Yeah. I think I have a copy of that 1995 Haitian Accord. I happen to have that, and some strange things have happened in this
A
country.
lot
Yes,
of information.
yeah,
Mhm.
we need to get the financial. I'm happy that Berenice talked about the financial support for the people who have been waiting for so long. You can't tell the woman who's 85 she got to wait for another 15 or 20 years.
Mhm.
This, like she said, it's supposed to have been done from yesterday. And I agree with her.
Mm.
That's why I'm saying to the Bahamian people, stop sitting down. You're getting correct and precise information over these radio waves. And there's no need for you to keep sitting back doing nothing because it takes a lot of hard work and discipline. It is not going to be easy to correct the wrongs that have gone on for 50 years and 9 months, going on to 10 months. But you need committed people. The Constitution speaks specifically, and she said this was not in with the Constitution, but she's talking about some other matters, and I understand where she's coming from. The point is the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is our salvation document. There isn't any other. Mr. Hyder, I can let you come in right now because I'll talk till the man come back. Don't mind me. Thank you for coming and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me once again, Professor Thompson. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to speak to the Bahamian family. There's a lot of work to do, and I agree with everything that I've heard so far. Your first time caller that called it
Yes,
earlier.
very much so, very early. Yeah.
You know, he had each caller had a lot of information,
Very much so.
and it's a lot for us to address. You know, he used the word integrity.
Yes.
When he said, we just are lacking integrity in the national running of the country.
That is correct.
Where my mind went was something that I have under review now, but it's not too early to put it out there to the Bahamian people. 2017, there was a drafting of an act called the Integrity Act in the Bahamas. So here's something that I can't say if it's originated with the Organization of American States, but some of the suggestions, recommendations that come from outside of the Bahamas are good recommendations. This is what I'm saying. Now, some of the recommendations and advice, of course, are not good. You would use stronger words than that, Professor Thompson.
Yeah, you're quite
It,
right.
it,
Yes.
it is not worth the paper that it is on,
Written on,
because,
Quite right.
like you keep repeating, the Constitution is the supreme law of the Bahamas.
Yes.
And that's so important because we are getting recommendations from the outside that are in conflict with our
With the
Constitution.
That's
And the
correct.
Constitution states plainly that to the extent that that those other laws or recommendations are contrary
Yes.
to the Constitution, they are null and void.
That's correct.
They are not to approach the Bahamas.
That's right.
But there is one good principle that's coming from the outside of the Bahamas, that that we establish an Integrity Act, and the point of that is that we are able to establish a commission based on integrity, and it won't be government ministers. It would be, I would put it out there, our Auditor General, for example, is doing an awesome job. You know, Mr. Terence Bastian, if I'm not mistaken.
That's his name, yeah.
The work of the auditing of this nation is it's so impactful right now
Yes.
in terms of uprooting some of what is happening, because some disturbing things are coming to light now.
That's correct.
You know, I don't mean to point any fingers at one particular person, because when I thought about it, I said it is unfortunate. There's certain politicians that are embroiled in legal battles right now.
That's correct.
And because the case is ongoing, you know, is only so much that you could say. But when you hear that shell companies are set up, or there are names on companies where the people don't even know that their name is on a company, but yet these companies are receiving public money, large sums of public funds. So even though we have basically, let's say, 2 or 3 of these situations happening now, there are many more. There are many more situations going on that need to come to light. So Sydney, you know, I call you Sir Sydney, you know, until everybody else catch up, or until the Crown. They probably haven't called you Sir Sydney yet, because the work that you're doing is it's actually enlightening the Bahamian people, and it's actually bringing an indictment against those powers that be, because what they're doing is just simply wrong. And like Vernie said, the last caller, you know, we don't have access to the money that we should have access to, and they come in for the rest of it. Things like the national insurance bill is still being debated. How much money our government will use of the people's money?
Yes.
So this is not good. And,
Well, this is why the
yeah.
Bahamian people have to watch and observe what the government of the Bahamas is doing, get the facts, just like the caller who called in yesterday about the immigration matter and the citizenship matter, and how confused this particular personality was based on wrong information purported to have been given by the leader of a political party, and that particular personality denied saying the things that were reportedly said that he said. Now, here is where the problem comes in. When you give out misinformation, confusing information, you don't understand what you are saying. You don't have credible sources. All you end up doing is becoming not reliable. You cannot be trusted. Anything people hear from you in the future, they're going to not trust you. But this particular political leader has said that that particular party, if it becomes the government of the Bahamas, will make some changes to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and have a different constitution. That's point number one. Point number two, you will never in this country be able to unite the Bahamian people around a political party. Neither will you ever be able to unite the Bahamian people around a particular religious entity. I want to repeat that because some people might not understand what I'm saying. So I can make it crystal clear today so there will be no misunderstanding. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas allows for political parties. You could belong to one or you could go and form one. That's constitutional. Mm-hmm. Number two, you can join a church, an established church, or you may decide you want to form your own church. That is constitutional. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get everybody to be in one particular church. Like I say, St. Barnabas members, and I'm not picking on St. Barnabas. I don't want them to get upset with me. St. Barnabas and BTC. The people who go to St. Barnabas Church, they go to different jobs. And they come to St. Barnabas Church on a Sunday morning to worship God and to hear what the minister has to say. Now, you don't see where one of St. Barnabas members who worked at BTC, he tell them, now, listen, all of you leave your job and come with me Monday morning. We're going to BTC. That's where we work. Leave your job and come work there. You don't ever see that happen. Well, how come it don't happen? How come he doesn't make that mistake? Mm-hmm. Neither does he tell the people at BTC, leave your church and you come to St. Barnabas Church on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, or whenever they start the service. But that doesn't happen. How come it doesn't happen? But when it comes to choosing a parliamentary representative, all of a sudden we're all in confusion because we're not following the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's why we're going to have to go to a break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Cable Beats to Montague. It's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Here, let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. My special guest, Mr. Dwayne Hyler. And Bahamians, we have a whole army of problems in this country. We need, starting today, I think it's May 7th, if I'm not mistaken, 2024. Bahamians, let's not keep sitting down doing nothing. Let's organize ourselves constitutionally. Article 24.1, that last phrase in Article 24.1. For the express purpose of protecting your interests. Do you have an interest to protect? Yes or no? You told me you didn't understand. You didn't know about this thing, man. But we know now. So why aren't you not acting according to what the Constitution says? That frustrates me. I waited 50 years. You think I got another 50 years to throw away? Hell no. 9 months already gone, Bahamians. Now 10 months coming up. And just around the corner is independence celebrations. Mm-hmm. And we aren't even organized on the ground. We still have time now, but you got to move today. You can't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow may be too late for you. Then you keep putting off. The 51st anniversary comes and goes, nothing done. We want to enter the year 52, July the 11th, 2024, and leave all of this crap, all of this rubbish, all of these national sins behind us, Bahamians. You don't take them into year 52. We just had another murder again. Mm-hmm. So, Bahamians, what's happening? What's wrong with us? We want to have a steady diet of violence, and then other funny things are happening in the country. But if you're not prepared to do something, and see, it takes the collective will. I have already told you, if you don't know how to do it, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson will help you to get it done constitutionally. So the police can't fool around with you, because I know some of y'all are scared of the police. I know why you should be afraid. Police is not the Constitution. Mm-hmm. The police are there to enforce the law. And they've been fooling around with those young men in my area. I raised hell about that. You are supposed to enforce the law and stop lawbreakers from violating the law. And we have too much of that in this country. Mm-hmm. And it is hurting us badly. Bahamians, you are needed now. Start today. Today, not tomorrow. And don't forget, we need your sponsorship for the show, because you're telling me, Professor, we want you to continue. Well, that's fine. I got no problem with that. I'm ready to wait. You had me waiting 50 years. You want me to wait for another 50? You know I can't do that. So let's make every single day count. That's why I work 6 days a week. I tell you, I rest upon the Sabbath, sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. That's the only time I get some good sleep. And I out in the night, 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sabbath morning. I can be right in my bed. That bed my mother left for me. I get good rest in that. The point is, we have to do something now, today, Bahamians. Send me that email today.
You know, Professor,
go ahead, brother.
I believe that because we are just learning. I mean, we are coming into the light slowly. The public did not know, because we entrusted our leaders for so long. This is what we hired them to do: take care of our affairs.
Yes, that's correct.
And if I could frame it like this is just my personal view. The Bahamas inherited a system of governance where the system itself was working against the people. So we have elected leaders
Now you
We
said when you
chose.
say now explain what you talk about the system now. When you say the system, what do you mean specifically?
Okay,
We have inherited a system that's working against the people.
let me say,
All
for
right. No,
example,
explain it. Explain
Okay.
it. Yeah.
we have a parliamentary system that the way it is practiced, it is not in the best interest of the people. For example, the Constitution gave us parliamentary representation, like you keep saying,
Yes.
but the political parties, the leaders that we sent there, they did not adopt parliamentary representation.
Now
They walk in party representation,
okay. Now that's
doing the will of the party, as opposed to the will of, I better say, the will of God and the
Well-
Constitution.
well, you got two different things right there.
Yeah,
Two different things entirely.
yeah,
The Constitution allows for political parties. And I think
Right.
at this point, let me explain this to the Bahamian people as
Mhm.
best as I possibly can, because I believe I gonna have to keep repeating this until Christ comes back, or until the Bahamian people get it deep into their psyche. Because we have never separated these party procedures
mhm,
as opposed to the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because they took those same things what they do in their little party,
right,
bring it into the government of the Bahamas,
Right.
and say we're gonna run things this way. So
Right.
you have in those seats in the Senate and in the House of Assembly
right,
party representatives,
exactly.
not parliamentary representative. There's a vast difference between the two.
What do you say to the person who asks, what's the difference?
The difference is this.
Mhm,
As we have seen 50 years and 9 months,
mhm,
the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has not been following the laws that are written in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Correct. But let's start giving persons examples, because this is the purpose why I join you, why I come alongside you, because I agree with you. And at the same time, we could use the referendum on gaming or gambling as an example.
That's one example.
The Constitution says hold a referendum to bring certain acts, certain consensus from the people. Now, when you can hold a referendum and the people say to the parliament, no, parliamentary representation would have resulted in the will of the people being carried out. The people
That's
say
correct.
no.
Yes, that's correct.
So no means no.
Yes.
Party representation means what does the party want? And possibly those that have financially backed those parties, possibly, allegedly, maybe, the government is doing the will of the people who they get their money from.
But I'll put it to you this way.
Mhm.
I know for a fact
Okay.
that the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is violating the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
We'll see you speaking according to your pay grade. I'm not quite there yet.
Okay, but that's fine.
I'm almost there.
So what we have
Yes.
to get people to understand is this.
Yes.
We have a constitution.
Yes.
The government of the Bahamas ought to be going by that constitution in running the country. For example,
Mhm.
the Constitution says the cabinet has what? Overall direction, overall control
Mhm.
of the government.
Yes.
Now, when the cabinet decides to appoint a particular personality as a minister
Mhm.
to a particular ministry,
Yes.
that minister carries what? Overall direction,
Yes.
1, overall control, 2, and number 3 of that particular ministry. That is constitutional.
Mhm.
But they don't do that. They don't do that.
Mhm.
They got some people in there, permanent secretary,
Right.
parliamentary secretary,
Yes.
director of this,
Right.
general manager of this.
Are these in the Constitution?
Well, let's put it this way.
Mhm.
You have statute law,
Right.
right? So everything is not mentioned in the Constitution.
Right. Right.
But what I'm saying is,
there are acts that are created.
yeah,
to
no, that's
extend,
fine.
yeah,
But
that-
you could
yeah.
create the acts, and
Yes,
as
yes.
long as they don't violate the Constitution, fine.
Mhm.
We can go along with that.
Right.
But the point is, let me go right to the very top.
Mhm.
When things go wrong,
Right.
the minister of that particular ministry has to take the rap, whether good or bad.
Understood.
That's constitutional.
Understood.
That does not happen in this
In
country.
other words, the buck stops with the one who has authority.
Well, that's what the Constitution tells
I-
me.
I-
Ain't say nothing about no general manager.
But Professor, are you suggesting to me that subordinates, whether they buy a car, or I don't mean to be frivolous about anything, whether they buy a car or they sign a contract, we have situations where subordinates sign contracts, and they're simply made to be a scapegoat to say, well, they signed it and they were wrong for signing it, and nobody ever is held to account. That is at the cabinet level or at the member of parliament level.
The Constitution
Mhm.
says very clearly the cabinet has
That's the
what?
authority.
Overall, no, I quote them exactly what the Constitution says.
Yes.
Nobody could talk no foolishness in my ears.
Yes.
Overall direction,
Mhm.
overall control
Yes.
of the government.
Understood.
So when the man appoints someone to a particular ministry,
Right.
that particular personality carries what? Overall direction, overall control to that ministry,
Understood.
which means that that particular personality is responsible for that ministry.
Understood.
But what they have done is,
Mhm.
when things go wrong,
Mhm.
you have these other particular personalities in there. It
Yes.
ain't the minister.
Yes.
Is that one who is the general manager?
Mhm.
No, that's the director. No,
Right,
that's the
right.
parliament secretary. No, that's the parliamentary secretary.
So based on what you're saying, I mean, there
So
can
why
be Go ahead.
why is not the minister
held to account.
held to account
Okay.
for whether it goes right or
Yes.
whether it's wrong? Because the Constitution says what? Overall direction, that's one. Overall control, that's two. Of the ministry, three.
Mhm.
Let's get it right, man.
Understood. Well, while you at it, Professor, let's expand. I don't think it's too much, for the Bahamian family to absorb right now. Let's extend that principle, where the cabinet is in control, but the leader of the opposition is given authority over the public accounts, the money. When it comes down to the money, even though the cabinet has control and authority, the Constitution gives the opposition the ability, the power, the authority to look at every account and every dollar that is flowing. And I just want to say, the reason why I bring it up is because we have a practice, like right now, the leader of the opposition has the authority to look into every, even though they make it seem like, bring it to parliament and lay it on the table.
On the table, yeah.
Lay this information on the table.
Mhm.
It sounds like a game. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Professor. They don't have to ask anybody to lay any document on the table. The Constitution says bring that document at the request of the leader of the opposition in the interest of the public good. And do you know, I see the picture in my mind right now during the last administration under Prime Minister Hubert Minnis. I heard the Speaker of the House basically either correct or said to the opposition at the time, the opposition, Davis and Cooper, why are you not holding, from what I understand, you all are not holding the Public Account Committee meetings on a regular basis? The now Prime Minister Davis did not respond right away. Chester Cooper, I would say to his credit, if I was in his position, Chester Cooper rose up to his feet quickly, very, very quickly, rose up to his feet. Yes, we're getting to that. We have meetings planned. In other words, he is a financial general. You could say he's a financial, brain, and that's his background, very strong. But yet, they were slow in monitoring the public money, even though in Parliament they make it seem like they don't know certain things where they have the authority. That's all I want to say to the Bahamian public. when the present government was in opposition, they had the position, the authority, according to the Constitution, to demand documents for everything related to Hurricane Dorian, every money that was transferred, every gift that was given. They had the authority to look into it. And now that they are the government, the reverse is also true. The present opposition has the authority to look into every transaction, all of the flow of monies based on the Public Accounts
Committee.
Act and the Public Accounts Committee. So I'm just saying, I don't mean to repeat it, but I just wanted to make it clear. This is like a game that's going on. It's like a game.
Some things need to be repeated because there must be clarity. So we can specifically say
Yes,
from the Constitution,
yes,
the authority of the Public Accounts Committee,
yes.
because they do have the majority of the members on the opposition side of that particular accounts committee. And they have that authority
Yes.
to look into all of these different issues. Now, how they handle it, that's a different kettle of fish
Right.
altogether.
Right.
But I think the Bahamian people need to understand more about what the government of the Bahamas ought to be doing, what role the leader of the opposition plays, and other members of the opposition, because their responsibility is also listed in the Constitution.
Yes.
Okay, but now you would have subsidiary laws, which would be statute laws, which are not necessarily mentioned in the Constitution. But as long as those laws relating to whatever aspect of governance it is would be in order, as long as those laws do not contradict the spirit and letter of the Constitution.
Well, I am in agreement with that. I just want to add, I think we have a caller. There's another point I want to raise, but I'll raise it after we hear from the caller.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor Thompson
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
and Mr. Hyler.
Good
I was
afternoon.
encouraged when he talked about the structure of the Public Accounts Committee,
Yes, ma'am.
and I remembered that I think the law states that they can send for persons and papers.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
Interestingly, that when in opposition, that doesn't seem to be anyone's priority.
It would depend. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good observation.
Listen, that's a good observation.
Very good
yeah.
observation.
I also was encouraged to say something about a trend I'm noticing online. Persons calling for a new party. It's not an official party. I don't think the people who ran in it ever got their monies back, although they've been around for some time.
Yes, ma'am.
But all of the people that are promoting it keep calling the name of their leader and asserting that he is the next prime minister. And it borders on idolatry, which is, for a Christian nation, untenable, unacceptable. You have this name, this person, this personality, and you're promoting it ad nauseum to the people who have to listen. What about people who don't agree? What are you going to do? You're going to harm them? What is that about? It smacks of rank idolatry to me, Professor Thompson, and I know
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
a man of the word.
Yes, ma'am.
Even when I was 12 years old, I don't remember. Well, I guess I didn't worship sports figures, and I grew up in a strict religious system. Idolatry was never promoted. It was decried. We were told it is offensive to the living God to hold up persons and personalities as though they are a God,
Yes,
because the arms of flesh will fail you.
they certainly will.
Yes.
Scripture tells you that. So where you going with this? Professor, it reminds me of, cause my grandmama used to grow up chickens. It reminds me of looking in the chicken coop, and there's a whole bunch of female chickens, hens, and one rooster. That's how it looks to me.
Mm.
And it defies logic and common sense. And then they're insisting to other people who have sense And oh, Brother Thompson, one of these days I'm going to show you the things that they're writing back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody speaks English. There isn't a lick of common sense, and these people are demanding that other people follow them. Well, I don't follow you and you can't even speak English. How? How am I do that? I'm going to follow your logic and you don't have any. And we better hope that by no luck or accident, that kind of ignorance takes control of this country. We would all be in trouble. So I'm going to show some of the stuff to you, Professor Thompson, because it defies logic. How is this happening in 2024 in the Bahamas, where we have mandatory education?
That's
bunch of idiots, and insisting that they're going to run the country. How frightening. God bless you all, and keep listening.
Well, thank you very much.
Very
Talking
interesting
about
indeed.
education,
Very interesting.
How can it happen in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, May the 7th, 2024?
Well, I think the people in general are hurting and just reaching out for answers. So whatever looks like change, whatever looks like an option, these things are being reached for. So, I guess we'll all say more on that a little later. Yeah. But it's interesting, the caller began by saying they observe that when the opposition is in power, they don't seem to be as critical or they don't really seem to be that much of opposition. And I could say plainly, opposition is very weak in the Bahamas, and it just demonstrates that the two are more in cahoots. Because see, when one goes in a certain direction, if the other one wins, they don't change what was done. That's what you do. If you really disagreed, you repeal, you change what was done now that you are in authority. But to sustain or to keep carrying on in the same direction, it means that you are part of what was done, to the detriment of the country, and we're sinking, statistically, we are sinking deeper into poverty, and now is no time to do business as usual.
Yes.
We have another caller, Sir Sidney.
Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Professor MacArthur Walter Thompson and the guest. This is Patriot number 7. I had to call back to piggyback of what Lady Russell was saying.
Good day.
You understand? You can't speak English, you can't this and that, the next thing. But what is happening now today was by design. When I tell people that they think I am crazy, this was by design. It was taught to Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinland by Mugabe of Africa. And Sir Lyndon came back and it was taught to Christie and Ingram. That's why they took the FNM and the PLP at their leisure. And it was said that whichever way the Bahamian people go, you all got them. It was also sent into the Ministry of Education. And when we used to be fight hard to get A, B, or C, it was watered down to A, B, C, D, F, and G. So this dumbness of the population is by design, so everybody could stay in power. Thanks for taking my call.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement.
Very much so.
It takes me back to when I said a system. We inherited a system that is against us. I don't say that lightly. And I say the Westminster system is a system of rule and control. And now you need governments, and of course. So that's not what I'm saying. But the way you govern in a way where you cause the people to believe one thing, but you do something else. That's deception. So remember, I raised the question, we in deep trouble when in a political party, they have something called a whip. And it just so happens that the leader of the opposition right now, if I'm not mistaken, he actually served as the whip, but I'm saying it for the reason of the system, not getting personal. I try not to get personal with this thing and try to get the warfare, with the enemy, which is not even carnal, but the system itself. You have a whip in your government. Look at the function of what that whip does. What do the people want? The people want A. The party wants B. The function of the whip is to get B happening, not A.
Is having that whip there constitutionally sound?
Well, which article and which chapter So Sydney, tell us, because it is not, and we don't see the whip, and its function. But this is an indication that it is unconstitutional and that it is working against the people. But it's there. Sometimes they even use the word where the people. It looked like we really sleeping. You saying Bahamians wake up, so Sydney.
Yes.
The people, the governments have a whip to drive everybody in the government and outside of the government into what the government wants, not what the people want.
Now, this is why I asked the question. This is why the Bahamians need to understand their constitution. Is this action by a government constitutionally sound? Yes or no? I'm just putting the question out there, and the Bahamian people could respond to it. Because if it's not constitutionally sound, Article 2 tells me it is null and void. That's the answer.
Okay.
Now, I want the people to think about that and ask whether the action of the government of the Bahamas to have this so-called, this is a whip,
right,
is it constitutionally sound?
Yeah.
That's what we need to understand.
Yeah.
So I can give them that so they can think about that.
And I would just add, as we slide to the break, they're thinking about whether it's constitutional. What I want them to think about is, if you go with the people, I'm thinking about a certain member with the name Michael Bine. If you go with the people, what does the government do to that person?
We'll come back to that. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Tonight at 7 p.m.
As soon as you clock off from work, make sure you lock right into me. I'm Buddy Green from The Quiet Storm, inviting you to come on over. I've got all of that R&B ear candy that you love. Plus, we'll engage in conversations inside a confession of love and so much more. And you never know who's going to drop by. It's The Quiet Storm, all getting underway tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Global 99.5. I'm Buddy Greer for The Quiet Storm. Keep it moving.
From East Street to Blue Hill Road, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Express Yourself. My special guest, Mr. Dwayne Hyler. We're discussing issues that affect the Bahamian people. And of course, some people had some very good questions, making some good comments. And I believe we have a call on the line now. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor and Mr. Hyler.
Yes,
I just want to make a comment in reference to the statement of people putting themselves forward or admiring the person who's put themselves forward to run or represent.
Yes,
if we hold on the standard that you only need to be an educated person in order to run or to put yourself forward, I think that's a wrong premise. If we go to the Bible and we look, we find that everybody that Jesus chose was unlearned. The only people we see in the Bible who were highly educated from the universities of their day were Paul and Dr. Luke.
Okay.
And then we also find it's very hypocritical because we find that in the past, there are F&Ms who are running around, Papa this, Papa that, Papa that. And I don't agree with that. I agree with the caller. We should not have idolatry.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I don't agree that we should put somebody off because you consider them not perfect. You know, Jesus told the people, you without sin cast the first stone.
Okay.
So I don't think we ought to dismiss people. Mr. Hyler said, the people are hurting. We have woken up and our eyes have been opened, and we've recognized that these two political parties have been playing us for a fool for 50 years and 9 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we allow it to continue, by when Yahweh is creating an environment in the country for people to step forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't cause people not to step forward because they didn't have a college degree or they didn't finish college.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Right.
I believe, if we believe the Bible, we quote, it is God who put people in position.
Yes.
Yes.
And I believe that Brave Davis is in position today because Yahweh had to let this nation recognize how far we have fallen from him,
Yes, ma'am.
how far we have forgotten our first love. But in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
process, we cannot make people feel they're not appropriate or they're not good enough because they don't speak proper English.
Yes, ma'am.
If that's the case, then we shouldn't listen to any of the scriptures because none of them were learned except two.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for your contribution.
Excellent point.
Yes, she has a valid point.
Excellent point. You know,
And so it really has to do with content of character because those
Yeah.
who were considered to be unlearned and unschooled according
Yes.
to the ways of the world
yes.
were being trained in a different philosophy, a different way of life. So they didn't remain quote unquote unschooled, unlearned.
Right.
And I agree with her that that's how they were recognized. Just like God's word says, the weak, the foolish, the base, the despised, and the nothings. Because I'm one of those from the nothing class. And the thing is that God would take these weak people and make them strong.
Yes.
The nothing, he turned nothing into something. And those who think they are something, he turned them into nothing.
Mhm.
That no flesh should glory in his
In his
sight. The
presence.
problem with us as people is we glory in the flesh. This flesh is just that. It could rot. It could die. It
That's
could,
right.
you wouldn't want to see it under certain circumstances. So what happens is that people get all puffed up over their education. She mentioned about the fact that these highly educated persons.
Mhm.
And God says to us in 1 Corinthians, not many mighty, not many noble the call. And I'm going to give people one other scripture, Luke 11:46, where Jesus himself gives some strong statements about a particular person, a particular grouping of persons. I want people to read that themselves. Luke 11:46. And there are some other things that the scriptures have to say about that particular grouping of persons, and
Yeah.
see whether they can look at the evidence from that particular grouping of persons and see whether Jesus Christ himself was correct then and is correct today. If you have a call on the line. Oh, caller, you live on there. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I strike out now, but it's Patriot 7, number 3. And the lady had an interesting point, because if you look at who led the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses he couldn't read or write, you know what I mean? But he got the job done. But what I called to do, because this is second or third time I heard somebody ask the question, the whip is not constitutional. The whip is an English term that was used when hunting. It's a hunting term. When the crown and them used to go hunting, and the animals or the dogs or something get out of line, they used to use the whip to get them back in line. And that terminology was adopted by the English Parliament. And of course, the rest was history in the English, with the English colony. That's all I call it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you
Excellent.
very much. Yeah,
Excellent.
okay.
We're so
Yeah.
glad that you called.
Yeah, well, he did
Yeah.
clarify that.
Yeah,
that is good.
that is excellent.
Yes, that's very good.
Now the hunting. It seems like, if I could capture the imagination of the Bahamian people, it seems like they still hunting.
Okay.
They're hunting our prosperity down and finding those who would help them to keep the system going, because we still experiencing hardship in paradise. Why
Nobody
should we
are.
be experiencing hardship? This is coming to a boiling point now, because
Yes.
we are the jewel of the Caribbean.
Yes.
We are the apple of God's eye.
Yes.
Yet the people are hurting. We are doing without, and matters are getting worse as we look at the reports that are coming in.
Yes.
From different quarters. So we have to push back. We have to realize and recognize that just a handful of people are having their way with hundreds of thousands of us, and it's not to our best
No, it's not
benefit.
our best interest.
It's not.
Yes.
It's not in our best interest.
Yes.
One of the means by which the Bahamian people are being abused is information, and the freedom of information. We are having our lives frustrated, and we are being deprived of certain things that we are due. And
Yes.
the Constitution speaks strictly to none of us should be experiencing these things,
That is
deprivation,
true. Deprivation
and frustration.
frustration. Yes. that is
I
correct.
want to point something out.
And exploitation of labor.
Well, that may be the biggest problem we may be having in the
That
country
is a big
today.
problem. Yes. Okay.
Person right now, even over the weekend, persons are still trying to figure out how they're going to get their money.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll raise the point because we just have a few minutes before we close up. I read an article in The Guardian. The Guardian is doing an excellent job, I believe, in getting into some very serious matters. And recently, here's a story that unfortunately includes Mr. Fred Mitchell,
Right.
where he made a statement, and it's a quote here, that the government does support freedom of information, but the Guardian held him to account and said months ago it was declared that the Davis administration opposes, quote, the idea of the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
And it reports, I have to read the source, the Guardian reported that the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Fred Mitchell, said the media took his comments too literally. Now look how serious this matter is. To say, well, they took my statements too literally, that we don't, that we don't support or that we oppose the idea of freedom of information. But the fact remains that the information is not flowing freely to the people.
That's correct. I believe, Mr. Haller, we have a call on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Sir Sid.
Yes, sir. Hey, how are you? How are you?
And I've heard that Sir Sidney a long time ago.
Okay.
The gentleman, he just inserted that. He was the first to say it.
You had a particular personality.
See, it is my family from Cat Island that is the other Sir Sidney.
Wow.
The other Sir Sidney.
That other one.
The other one, Mr.
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
But now we have another Sir Sidney rising here.
Absolutely. Rising. Has risen.
Oh, it's risen. Oh, it's risen.
And guess what?
Yes.
My father's family from Cat Island.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Philances. Yes, I just called in to encourage you, sir. You sound great. But I just want to say this. I don't want to bring the show down, but you sound like a politician. Are you?
Okay, and that would be me, Hyla?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I am. I serve as chairman of the Bahamas Constitution Party.
Oh.
And I have to say, but
Yes.
I'm a politician by function.
Yes, sir.
But by spirit, I don't have the spirit of politics. Politics
Wow.
has a spirit over it.
You sound like Donald Trump.
Ah, boy. Woo. I can feel the spirit in here right now.
Yeah.
Listen, I can say to you, let me just say, and I don't believe Sir Sidney would have invited me if I only came along or God empowered me to do what many others do in terms of politics. But I like Sidney Thompson, I cannot be bought. I don't have a price. There's no FNM, there's no PLP, none of that. None of that. No.
Yes, like the caller said, and I agree with him. I'm the same. I'm not a PLP. I am like the man. I'm just a Bahamian.
That's it.
Waiting for the best leadership I can detect.
That's it.
I don't have all the information.
That's it.
But what I just wanted to say to you, the downside of it is that you guys, you politicians, you always sound like me before you're elected.
Okay, I understand.
Then once you're elected,
yes,
I don't know.
Yes.
That's above my pay grade.
I hear you.
What's the other one? The most famous one. Well, I don't know. You just stuck in this situation, like you said earlier.
Yes.
The Freedom of Information Act. Nobody's interested in that. And we're left in this darkness for 5 years.
Wow.
And the inability to get information from that we need, that Sidney is always preaching about.
Yes.
Because, a dumb nation, they say without knowledge or vision or stuff. But actually, somebody said they planted this. And this is why we are the way we are right now. But I always want to encourage you. Okay. You're doing a great job. But please, sir, if you're ever in that House of Assembly, just be the same guy I'm hearing on the radio today.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
I hear you.
That's good.
I thank you for your comments and your encouragement.
Yes, sir.
And I can go ahead and say to you right now while you are on the line that my intention is to go back to God the way He has me humbled right now.
Hallelujah.
I intend to go back to Him that same way, just using my strength to lift up His people, the Bahamian people. And, I spend most of my time, sir, bringing unity. I actually operate inside other small parties. With the exception of one party, I'll feel free to say more later.
Please say.
But I operate with the smallest of the small. You understand what I'm saying to you?
The underdogs.
Yes, I operate with the underdogs, and there's a scrap gang that is coming, so to speak.
I don't know if you're talking about the COI, but I am in that scrap gang. I promise you that.
Okay, I hear you. There's a scrap gang that's coming, and we're going to support one another. And you know what's so interesting?
Yes, sir.
when this is the first time that I'm saying it publicly, I didn't even know that I would say it this early. I was, I would say it whenever it was raised.
Yes.
But now that you bring this up today,
Yes,
when Mr. Bain came forward and said that he has some information that he believes need to come out to the Bahamian public,
yes.
he had two persons at that press statement, the first press statement that was made, and I was one of those persons that was standing right there.
Yeah.
So that just speaks to the support is there. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I'm someone along with Sherelle Ali McIntosh that he could go to and sit with and get some information.
Man,
you see?
I wish all of us get together at this point.
Well,
man. Every one of us.
Oh, you hear what you're saying? You know how serious what you're saying is right there?
Yeah, I heard myself.
I hear you loud
It's just
and
unity,
clear.
and that's what we need, man.
The unity. Yes,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
come together against a common enemy. And this is beyond
Correct.
color. This is not color or party but we're under
Exactly.
oppression. We know what we're facing.
Exactly.
And we need to fight what is fighting us.
Yes.
That's
we
it.
can do better than this, what we're doing right now.
Oh, listen to what you sure you're not a politician?
You might
I
have
am a
two
man of God,
politicians.
though.
Okay.
You might end
And
up
I-
having two.
Yes.
Yeah, I really believe in what you're saying, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I
We can do better.
We
Yes,
can.
sir.
We
much
can do
better.
better. And stay listening, because I'm going to say one or two things before we close
Okay.
that are very critical in terms of freedom of information
Okay.
and the integrity that we need. I'm going to go right into it. Even
Yes,
as you
sir.
hang up, I'm going to go right into
Yes,
it right
sir.
now.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. People, I'm encouraged by the call as well. So, Sydney, you hear from the calls that we're getting. Everybody understands that we can do better and there's more
No,
that
we
needs to
can.
be done.
That's correct.
But the people that we empower, why would they not want information to be free? Why would they not want to let us know who is financing their campaigns?
That's a good question.
So campaign finance reform, they shun or they back away from these things. The freedom of information, we cannot get a mature functional act. And I want to bring up something else in case the Bahamian public did not know. There's something that that I believe needs to happen very soon.
Yeah.
In terms of integrity, there's something called an integrity commission,
Okay.
right? Now, I want everybody out there to understand. In 2017, an act was drafted in 2017 to bring about an integrity commission. My question for the Bahamian public is, when are we going to see an integrity commission? Even though our politicians drafted an act for integrity in the public service, my question is, when are we going to see an integrity commission launched, functioning, and calling in persons and information to hold to account before it becomes a court matter? You understand what I mean?
Mhm.
So the lines are still open. We only have a few minutes as we conclude. And let me give an example of the deception. Or let me bring two examples to bring this home.
Okay.
There's a story coming out of Grand Bahama, out of Pinecrest, where there's a park that is important to the community, that when the recent by-election took place, there were tractors, huge, not one or two, many tractors that were brought to the Pinecrest Park.
Right.
So everybody saw, oh, finally they're going to do something. So after the election would have taken place, Sydney,
Mhm.
where those tractors are today?
Good question.
The tractors gone back to where they were. In other words, the work was not done.
Okay.
That's my point. That's a physical representation of what many leaders do.
Yeah.
Dangle a carrot and then pull it away when you need it. How could it hurt our public purse to complete that park if you say you're making a promise? So I say, Pinecrest, that park better be complete before the rest of us get there, before Sidney Thompson gets there, before Dwayne Hyler gets there,
Yes.
before Sherelle Ali McIntosh get there. You better do it before Glenroy Battle get there. Let me call that name over there. Pastor Glenroy Battle over there in Grand Bahama. Please see what's going on at Pinecrest. I'll be calling you to find out more about what is happening, and let's see if we could get those persons straight. The landscaping issue that's going on, where foreigners are having precedence over local Bahamians. Please, let's look into that to see what's going on. We need Grand Bahama to rise up. Abaco as well. Let me just say that there was one report coming out of Abaco. Foreigners had to come in and help. I mean, it's always happening, but I'm just saying, I believe there was a Pastor Lowe over in Abaco that they just came and built 2 churches in a matter of like a week or 2. This is what we need to build up one another, not to make promises that we don't keep. So the caller asked that I myself, Dwayne Highland, not do what others have done before, which is make promises or be elected. I understand others have done it. It seems to be the norm. And, I don't need it. I am not joining the FNM. I'm not joining the PLP. The PLP, one of my favorite PLPs called me a friendly foe. She know who she is. She's a high-ranking PLP member, operating at even on the team of, anyway, let me not even say more than that. The point is, we don't need to be foes of one another. We just need to come together for the common good of the people. So thank God for Sidney Thompson. Thank God for Global FM, opening up the airwaves to strengthen the Bahamian people. So let's just work together. Hold on, Bahamian people. Let's work together. I am here alongside Sidney Thompson to do what I can for the Bahamian people. I support the work not only of Global 99.5, but the Patriots.
Yes.
I support the work of the Patriots who are bringing legal action against the government. It's not personal. It's not against a party. It's against certain actions that are against the Constitution. That's the bottom line.
And that's good.
So we may not have enough time right now. We'll have to deal with immigration another day.
Yeah, we'll have to, Because
But
we're getting there today.
Yes, but I'll make this one last statement, though.
Okay, make it.
Inside immigration, there was a faithful Bahamian woman that stood up and spoke out against irregularities that she saw going on inside immigration.
Okay.
And she was unceremoniously dismissed.
Okay.
So this is what another caller spoke to. When you speak up against what is being done, it's like you are removed or this big machine comes against you. It's just that they can't come against persons like Sidney Thompson.
Article 24.1. That's what I'm going to answer that with.
Yeah.
We have to take the action. We're going to have to close out now because the music is coming up. This has been Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Thank you very much for listening and participating. Have a pleasant afternoon.
you.